Ladies and gentlemen, you think you're doing everything right. You wake up early, you hustle, you pray, you push through, yet somehow you're still stuck. You're not rising, you're not getting noticed, you're not becoming who you know deep down you're meant to be. Why? Because there are laws to elevation, and you're breaking them every single day without even realizing it. In this message, I'm going to reveal the 3 powerful unspoken laws that are keeping you grounded when you were born to soar. If you're tired of running in circles, if you feel like something invisible is holding you back, this is your wake-up call. Let's talk truth, let's talk power, let's talk breakthrough. You wake up early, check off your to-do list, stay up late grinding, and constantly remind yourself that you're putting in the work. But despite all your effort, you're not rising. You're not seeing the growth, the breakthrough, or the transformation you expect. And that's because you've fallen into one of the most dangerous traps in the journey to success, the illusion that movement equals progress. You're busy, but you're not building. You're doing a lot, but none of it is aligned with where you're supposed to be going. You're running in circles instead of stepping forward. Busyness has become your identity. It makes you feel productive, it makes you feel important, and it keeps you distracted from the real question you need to be asking. Am I moving with purpose? Because if the direction is wrong, the speed doesn't matter. If the foundation is weak, the height doesn't count. What you don't realize is that some of your work is just noise, activities designed to fill time, not change your life. You've mistaken chaos for momentum. You've mistaken stress for significance, and every day you keep confusing activity with achievement. You delay your rise. A lot of people stay busy to avoid facing the hard truth that they're afraid to focus on the one thing that actually matters. Afraid to take the uncomfortable step that would actually push them out of their current level. So instead, you clutter your life with distractions that look impressive on the outside, but do absolutely nothing for your purpose. You attend meetings, answer every call, post endlessly on social media, scroll through motivational content, tell yourself you're networking, researching, or preparing. But deep down you know it's just a way to avoid what's really required of you. Progress is intentional, it's strategic, it's focused, it's not always glamorous, and it's never scattered. Progress doesn't mean doing more, it means doing what matters. It means learning to say no to what looks urgent in order to say yes to what is essential. It means doing the one hard thing that actually creates movement instead of 10 easy things that just make you feel busy. If you're not making time for reflection, for alignment, for growth, you're just spinning in place. You were created to rise, not to remain in cycles. But rising requires discipline, clarity, and purpose-driven action, not just effort, but effective effort, not just movement, but movement with direction. When you start treating your energy like currency and your time like a weapon, everything changes. You start cutting out distractions. You start choosing growth over comfort. You stop celebrating activity and start measuring impact. That's the shift that leads to elevation. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you're unworthy. It's that your energy is being wasted on things that don't contribute to your future. The rise you're looking for is hidden in the work you've been avoiding. It's buried in the priorities you keep pushing to the side. It's behind the doors you haven't knocked on because you're too busy answering calls that don't belong to your purpose. You don't need to do more, you need to do right. You don't need to be everywhere, you need to be in alignment. The enemy of your elevation isn't laziness, it's distraction dressed up as diligence. You're chasing validation instead of vision, and that's the real reason you're not rising. At some point along the way, you stopped building for the calling on your life and started performing for applause. You began measuring your progress based on likes, shares, compliments, and recognition. You traded your internal compass for external approval, and what's worse, you started to believe that the louder the applause, the more successful you must be. But applause is not confirmation. Just because people are clapping doesn't mean you're aligned with your purpose. In fact, sometimes the loudest cheers come when you're furthest from your destiny. When you chase validation, your decisions are no longer rooted in purpose. They're driven by performance. You do what's popular, not what's powerful. You avoid risks because you're afraid to be misunderstood. You shrink your message so it fits into people's comfort zones. You dilute your gifts so no one feels threatened by your greatness. And every time you do that, you disconnect from the very thing that was designed to make you rise, your authentic vision. The vision you were given wasn't designed to be understood by the masses. It wasn't created to be safe. It was crafted to stretch you, to challenge you, to grow you. But chasing validation will make you abandon all of that just to be accepted. You begin filtering your life through other people's opinions. You ask for feedback from those who were never assigned to your mission. You wait for permission to move forward, instead of trusting the inner voice that already confirmed it. You look to social media metrics to validate what your spirit already told you is right. And slowly, without realizing it, you become a slave to applause. The scariest part is how easy it is to confuse this with success. Because on the surface, it looks like you're rising. People are watching. You're trending, you're being noticed, but deep down you're empty, you're tired, because performance is exhausting and alignment is energizing. When you're not in alignment with your vision, everything becomes heavy. It takes more effort to create because you're constantly second-guessing yourself. It takes more energy to show up because you're playing a character instead of living in truth. The longer you chase validation, the further you drift from your original calling. You stop listening to God and start listening to algorithms. You begin adjusting your goals to match people's expectations instead of divine instructions. You post what's trending instead of what's transformational. You start compromising your values for attention, and before you know it, you've built an entire life based on what looks good, not what feels right. A life that impresses people but depresses your soul. You were never meant to chase validation. You were meant to chase vision, because vision sustains you when no one is clapping. Vision fuels you when no one is watching. Vision carries you when the crowd leaves. Validation fades fast. One day they love you, the next day they forget you. But vision is eternal. Vision anchors you. Vision reminds you why you started. And without vision, your rise will always be temporary. Chasing validation puts you in a constant state of performing. You feel pressured to deliver even when you're empty. You feel the need to explain yourself to people who aren't even qualified to understand your process. You begin overthinking, overanalyzing, overworking, not to grow, but to gain approval. You start watering down your uniqueness to fit in. You ignore your convictions just to get a pat on the back, and you confuse visibility with value. But being seen isn't the same as being significant. The truth is, not everyone will understand your vision because it wasn't given to them. The more you chase validation, the more you invite confusion. The more you seek approval, the more you lose authenticity. You're sowing in wrong environments and wondering why nothing's growing. It's not that your seed is broken. It's not that you lack potential. The truth is, even the strongest seed won't grow in toxic soil. Some of you are planted in places that can't sustain your purpose. You're surrounding yourself with people who don't water you, who don't challenge you, who don't call out the greatness in you. You're sharing your dreams in rooms filled with small minds. You're giving your energy to situations that keep you stagnant. And every time you try to rise, your environment pulls you back down. Your environment is either feeding your faith or fueling your fear. It's either cultivating your confidence or magnifying your doubt. If you're constantly explaining your growth, if you're always defending your evolution, you're in the wrong room. The right environment should stretch you, not shrink you. It should pull more out of you, not drain the life out of you. But many people stay in familiar environments because they're comfortable, because they don't want to start over, because they're afraid to outgrow those they once called home. But you can't elevate while staying loyal to places that no longer serve your future. Growth demands disruption. It requires you to relocate, not always physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You've got ideas, gifts, and potential that are divine, but you keep planting them in environments that can't handle them. You tell your goals to people who secretly hope you fail. You share your plans with those who lack the capacity to dream at your level. You expose your vision to energy that isn't prepared to protect it, and then you wonder why the doors aren't opening, why your motivation fades, why everything feels heavy. It's not your dream that's flawed, it's your soil. And until you get rooted in the right environment, Your growth will always feel like a struggle. There are people who can't grow with you because they weren't meant to go where you're going, and trying to force them into your journey only creates resistance. You're carrying dead weight disguised as loyalty. You're staying in circles that keep you playing small. You're allowing proximity to define connection, when in reality, alignment matters more than history. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they belong in your next chapter, and just because a space feels safe doesn't mean it's sacred. The places you keep returning to out of habit may be the very ones killing your harvest. When you're in the wrong environment, even your progress becomes painful. You start questioning your worth. You start comparing your path. You begin suppressing your voice to make others comfortable. You start making excuses for why you can't move forward instead of making moves. That's what happens when your surroundings don't match your assignment. They confuse you, they distract you, they delay you. You can't build purpose on polluted ground. You can't become your best self around people who benefit from your brokenness. You need to be in a space that reminds you who you are, not one that makes you forget. Right environments don't just support your growth, they require it. They challenge your thinking, they hold you accountable, they don't let you sit in mediocrity, they speak life into your vision, not fear. They call you higher, not lower. And if your current environment isn't doing that, it's a signal to shift, because every dream needs the right atmosphere to thrive. And if you're not intentional about protecting your environment, your potential will stay buried. Your seed deserves better soil. Your purpose deserves purer energy. You can't afford to be casual with your surroundings when your destiny is on the line. You're avoiding the pain that produces power. You want the outcome but not the process. You want the elevation without the pressure, the breakthrough without the breaking, the strength without the stretching. But there is no rising without discomfort. Pain is the price of transformation. Every version of you that has ever been stronger, wiser, more focused, more powerful came out of a painful season. Growth doesn't come from the easy moments. It's birthed in struggle, in sacrifice, in surrender. Yet you've built your life around comfort, convenience, and safety, hoping you can bypass the hard parts. And that's exactly what's keeping you stuck. You pray for change, but resist the pressure that creates it. You say you want to level up but shrink when life turns up the heat. You avoid the confrontation, the healing, the accountability, the discipline because it hurts. But anything that produces true power is going to challenge you at your core. It's going to expose your weaknesses, stretch your endurance, test your faith, and break everything in you that isn't built to last. Pain isn't the enemy. Pain is the signal that growth is happening. It's the evidence that something is shifting, something is maturing, something is shedding. You've mistaken pain for punishment when in reality it's preparation. You feel like life is coming at you, but life is actually shaping you. The moments that made you cry are also the ones that built your character. The seasons that felt like isolation were the ones where your voice got clearer. But instead of embracing the refining process, you keep escaping it. You numb the pain with distractions, you avoid the work by staying busy, you ignore the signs because facing the truth feels too heavy, and the longer you run from that pain, the longer you delay your rise. Pain exposes your priorities. It shows you what matters, what's real, what's necessary. It strips away the fluff. It forces you to choose between who you've been and who you're called to be. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's lonely. But it's also sacred. There's a version of you that can only be unlocked on the other side of that suffering. A version of you that's bold, clear, fearless, focused, unshakable. And the only way to meet that version is to walk through the pain you keep avoiding. You can't pray for power and then run from the pain that builds it. You can't say you want purpose but hide every time purpose demands more of you. The fire you're in isn't to destroy you, it's to refine you. The pressure you feel isn't to break you, it's to prepare you. The discomfort in your life is a tool, not a curse. But if you keep labeling every hard thing as an attack, you'll miss the blessing in the battle. Pain pushes you out of what's familiar. It forces you to reevaluate. It requires you to let go of what you've outgrown. It demands that you evolve. Most people never rise because they never allow themselves to go through the full process. They stop midway, they numb midway. They retreat midway, And so they keep starting over, they keep going in circles, they keep asking why nothing's changing, why they feel unfulfilled, why they haven't broken through. It's because they're trying to rise without being refined. They want purpose without pressure, legacy without loss, glory without grinding. But the truth is, nothing powerful is built without pain. It's not supposed to feel easy. It's supposed to feel like transformation. Pain is the passageway. It's what unlocks the parts of you that you didn't even know existed. It forces your faith to grow. It makes you dig deeper, think clearer, love stronger, lead better. You were never meant to avoid pain. You were meant to rise through it. You were meant to mine it for wisdom, to extract strength from it, to turn it into fuel. The people you admire, the leaders you follow, the voices that inspire you, they were all formed in fire. They didn't skip the pain, they let it do its work. They surrendered to the process. They cried, broke, healed, and kept moving. And that's why they rose.